Welcome to the Miami Heat Zone podcast. I'm your host, Martel Llewellyn. We're pushing to 5,000 subscribers. Hit that subscribe button, and thank you for all the support. So today we have a special guest, Lou, SaucyTakez on Twitter from the Miami Heat beat. Thank you again for coming on the show, and how are you today?
Oh man, first of all, thank you for having me. And how am I today? Pretty good, pretty nervous for obvious reasons, but other than that, we're chilling.
So before we get into everything Miami Heat, what's your current outlook on this current Miami Heat team in terms of Terry Rozier now? We have him, to start the season. We do have a few new pieces, but not really too many. It's pretty much the same team overall. So what's your current outlook on the Miami Heat right now at 3-3?
We know who they are. That's my outlook. We know who this team is. We know what their ceilings are. We know what their floor is. We know everything about this team. Ironically, they are 3-3. All three wins are the three wins that they were supposed to get, and all three losses were the ones that, if they would have been flipped to W's, we would have been talking about them perhaps in a different light. But it's the same shit from last year. It's the same team. Unfortunately, not much has changed. We have some new pieces, some intriguing pieces, but all in all, man, it's just there's not enough. There's a good team there. I think is like there's a better team there than there has been the past two regular seasons. I'm not saying playoff pushes, but in terms of regular season success, there is a better team there because I do like some of the young pieces that they have now, as opposed to some of the young pieces that they had, for example, last year. It's a lot going on with this team. It's a lot of questions and not a lot of answers, or they're just answering them incorrectly.
So now when you look at Bam Adebayo, people were expecting him to start off the season, great. He's coming off the Olympics, 20-10, All-Star. What is going on with Bam Adebayo right now? There's a lot of people that are cooking him online saying that he's not the franchise guy. He's not leading this team. He's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. Like his numbers is well below his average. He's really not playing like how we thought he would play to start off the season. A lot of people would say that, once you come off the Olympics, you're going to have like the best season ever. So what's going on with Bam Adebayo?
Man, Bam is interesting. First of all, we have to differentiate what franchise player means. Because I love Bam. No, this is no disrespect to Bam. He's probably my favorite player on this team. He's not a franchise guy that is the guy to help you win a championship. And that's okay. That is perfectly fine. That the issue isn't with Bam being on the team. The issue is that he's being tasked to be this franchise guy, and he's being asked to do certain things offensively that he's perhaps not suited to do as efficiently as you would like. Also, the hot start like that, or the lack of a hot start, or the struggle that he's been going through early on in the season, that shit doesn't move me personally. Like, we know who he is. He's had these ups and downs throughout the course of the year. It's unfortunate that he's having a slow start. I think he's been a little bit better the last two games in particular, but the first four games it was really, really rough. I will say that. Like, we know who Bam is at this point too. Like, he shouldn't be tasked to be the guy carrying the offense. I don't think he's ready to be a full, spacer out there. I know that was a big talking point, and I got a lot of pushback personally on Twitter from, obviously saying like we've never like the amount of jumps that we've seen in terms of 3-point shooting. Bam needed to take one of those, top caliber jumps, one of those Brook Lopez when he got to Milwaukee jumps, one of those, even like Channing Frye was the second most, one of those tier of jumps in terms of volume and make percentage. And that hasn't resulted through the first 6 games. Not even his attempts. Like, he's not even shooting them from out there. So Bam's questions are, it's a compliment of the team, but also I don't think he's fully ready to be this spacer that the team would like, or that he would like to be.
But not even just being the spacer. Like, don't you just think that it's weird to me that like he didn't want to be the captain? You have Pat Riley, you have all these Miami Heat greats, Alonzo Mourning, Dwayne Wade. They're crowning him as the next guy. But then at the same time, he doesn't even want to be the captain. You know what I mean? And not that the captain has to be the best player, because to me, the shocking part is, how is it not Jimmy? that's a whole nother conversation, and we'll get to Jimmy in a minute. But don't you just think that it's weird that like Bam Adebayo, like he doesn't want to be the captain, but then at the same time he has to lead this team, and then also feels like we have to force the offense out of him. It's like it's almost as if he came a long way, of course. Think about it. I mean, he came into the NBA not really even shooting jump shots consistently,
Mhm.
and now he's finally starting to get those attempts up. And it's kind of like we're going backwards. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. As far as him not getting the captain thing, that's interesting. I don't know who makes those decisions. I don't know if that's I don't know. So I won't read too much into that. But just in terms of him and his play style, um offensively, I think we know when Bam is at best offensively is when the shots are falling, but not necessarily his game. His game is not the most analytically driven game. He takes a lot of uncomfortable, tough shots, and when he hits them like he did in that Washington game, it looks nice. When he doesn't, like he did in damn near every other game, uh, it looks rough. And that's personally not the guy I want leading an offense. If you're trying to get to championship contention, which I'm pretty sure is what every team should be striving for, no team should be striving for to be a playing team. Cough, cough, Pat Riley. But just in terms of he's in a sticky situation right now. I don't think the pieces around him are helping him in any way, shape, or form. The lack of a true point guard isn't helping him. Just the inability to get some easy ones. Too many people on this team need the ball in their hands, and it's stressful for everybody. In particular for Bam, he needs to be set up. Bam was at his best when Bam looked his best offensively in terms of efficiency wise and in terms of leading you to winning basketball is when he had Goran on his team. Is when as much as we can clown on him, but like when Kyle was on this team, he was helping him. When Tyler was a 6-man on this team and he had a bench partner that he was going up against second units with, getting easy lobs, when those things were going for him. When his job offensively was to be a roller, Bam was at his peak. Can he do some of these spacing things? Yes, I'm pretty sure he can. Efficiently, not efficiently enough for that to be the main priority of his game. We have gotten away from what Bam does well to things that Bam wants to do, whether that's a Bam thing, that's a Spo thing, that's a Pat thing, I don't care whose thing it is. The point is, it's a thing. You get what I'm saying? It's not, we've taken Bam away from the paint. We've taken him away from and part of that is due to the lack of playmaking. Part of that is just due to this scheme that they're trying out. Part of that is due to the starters. It's a lot of people to blame, and ultimately it's no one person's fault. But
now, when you're looking at Jimmy Butler, he does want the extension. What do we do with Jimmy Butler in terms of going into the future? Because you look at him and don't get me wrong, does he need to play 82 games? Absolutely not. I don't want
no.
him to play 82 games. You don't need him to play 82 games. But my biggest thing is if you're 34, 35 years old and you're still, kind of, giving 50% in the games, and there's a lot of games to where maybe if he would have just put up maybe a few more shots, or if he was just more engaged, the fact that
Yeah.
he wants $50 more million plus, and we're begging, he's supposed to be our star player, and we're begging him to be engaged. What do we do with Jimmy Butler going forward? Because clearly he wants his money and he's not going to take anything less. Do I really see him trying to force his way somewhere else? Yes and no, because he really wants to stay here. But at the end of the day, these people are going to go after their bag. What do we do with Jimmy Butler? And do you believe in paying players for what they did in the past? I think that Jimmy Butler, hands down, has done more with less.
Yes.
But what do we do with Jimmy Butler going forward?
And this is a tricky situation because some of this people can say it's like they comp it to Dame and to Wade in 17. It's nowhere near the same thing. Now, Jimmy has done a tremendous amount of good for this franchise, but at a certain point, you have to look at these contracts aren't just a token of gratitude. That token of gratitude was already given the last extension he signed after making the finals. These contracts are a token of an investment. And if you mean to tell me we are committing $55 million out of an $150 million cap, so we're committing more than a third of the cap to Jimmy Butler, and this is the outcome we're getting, math doesn't add up, man. And I'm a math guy. That shit doesn't add up. You can't. You're not winning. You're not winning games. You're literally hindering your team. And you just said Bam is the franchise guy. Bam is the token guy. These are the titles he was given. You're not only hurting Jimmy and the team winning now, you're hurting Bam's future here because you are now committing extra assets or extra money to somebody who's not going to be returning value on that money and thus hindering you from putting a better team around Bam. So what do the Heat do with Jimmy Butler? Shit, if it was up to me, he wouldn't be here right now. That's just me being frankly honest. If it was up, and I don't give a fuck how much slack I got on Twitter, I don't give a damn. My name's SaucyTakez for a reason. Like, I'm not meant to agree with everybody. I have my own opinions. I don't got to follow nobody's. But Jimmy should have been gone. And ironically enough, I was banging the table for Houston. All of a sudden, they're in contention. Like, shit just makes sense. You send him home. He's from Houston. Not saying it's going to happen, but like, if you were to ask me in a perfect scenario, you know, what could we have gotten? Maybe some cap relief, some young players. I heard rumored the 3rd overall pick was in talks for Jimmy Butler too, and it was on the table. Not saying this is the best draft class, but these are things moving towards the right direction of the future, because I don't care what anybody tells me. This build is done. It's been done. It was done the moment they lost to Denver in the finals. It was probably done before that. Honestly, it was done that regular season. They got a glorious run, and I fucking applaud them for that. It was a sensational run. But nobody who watched those 82, 83 games of basketball before that second play-in game could have told me with a straight face that team was going to the finals. They could not have told me, because I sat there, I saw all 83 games, every single minute, all 4 quarters, overtime included. There's no way you could have told me this team was going to go to the finals. Do I applaud them for that? Fuck yeah, man. Hell of a run. Shout out Jimmy. Shout out what that team was able to do. Gabe, Max, Caleb, obviously Bam, Dunk. You know, shout out what these guys were able to do. But the team was done. They gave you everything. And we've seen now, we've had a sample size of 2 years where Jimmy has made the finals, and the next year his body can't hold up. Typically his body can't hold up, but now his body can't hold up and he's inefficient or he's not engaged. It's different tiers, and it's not like Jimmy's game translates. You know, it's not an age thing for me, because we can pay old players. Steph is 35. Steph looks fucking great. It's how your game translates to the future. Jimmy's game is based on physicality. He's not much of a 3-point shooter. He's more of a strength guy who uses his strength, and he likes to get to the foul line. If he's not getting by people to draw this contact, if he's having to go through guys, he's always struggled with length. Now he has just that little bit less of athleticism because it's been declining because of injuries, because of age. It makes it tougher for him to do all these things, thus making it tougher for you to pay him. And, you know, with the straight face, tell Bam, who's your franchise guy, like, yeah, we think he's going to get you over the hump. You know, you're not paying Jimmy 60 mil to get you through 16. You're paying Jimmy 60 mil to get you to the 16 in a good spot and then help you get through that. So in my opinion, what should they do? They should be fielding calls for Jimmy left and right. They should make it readily available that he is on the trade market, because everybody, my whole thing with Jimmy is everybody thinks he's either getting traded or he's walking. If Jimmy Butler gets hurt, he's not getting traded and he's not walking. You know what he's doing? He's opting into those $52.4 million he's owed next year, because he'd be dumb not to. You get what I'm saying? So it's just a matter of, I don't think it's so black and white that it's one or the other. I think there is a very good possibility Jimmy just opts in, and we're doing the same shit we're talking about this year. We are delaying the process one more year. Bam is 27, about to be 28 this year. Next year, he's going on 28, about to be 29. So you've taken 2 years, his prime years, to try to compete with a build that's no longer there because they have no cap space. They already have $192 million committed in cap space next year. That is already a second apron team, people. Like, if you do not know cap implications, that's horrible. That is legitimately awful for this team. And they don't even have fucking, I think they have 11 players on the roster for next year. Like, they don't even have the complete roster. So with all this being said, like, their cap situation is bad. I hate to say it. I don't like to trash Pat Riley because I think he's done a lot of good for this organization. But I don't think this front office as a whole understands the way this new CBA pushes your team building direction. They still
wait, but hold on that though. Hold on that. Do you think, because a lot of Miami Heat fans too, do you think that Pat Riley has given Jimmy Butler enough help? Because don't get me wrong, Kyle Lowry was decent that first year, but Kyle Lowry was an absolute disgrace. And Jimmy Butler did not hold him accountable like he does Bam, like he does Tyler, like he does Duncan. Now, you can also factor in, well, he did try to get Victor Oladipo, and I think that if Victor Oladipo really did pan out, if we were able to get the Indiana Pacers Victor Oladipo, who knows what could have happened with that roster. Same thing with,
Yeah.
I mean, they did get PJ Tucker. They made marginal moves, but then you can also argue they kind of went overboard with the whole undrafted thing with Caleb Martin, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, and thank God we didn't really pay those guys.
Yeah.
So do you think that the Miami Heat gave Jimmy Butler enough help, or do you just think that most of it's on the front office? Because even the Terry Rozier trade, Terry Rozier is not really looking too good on this roster right now.
No. And do I think they've tried to get him the help? Yes, I do. I do think they've tried. They've been in every, they've knocked on every door. It's tough to show up to buy shit, I don't know, a new fucking iPhone, and all you got is 75 cents in your bank account. You can't do it. So, yeah, they've tried. So to answer your question, do I think the front office has tried to make this build work with Jimmy? Yes, I do think they have tried. However, have they set themselves up as a front office to have these pieces to then flip for a Jimmy Butler? No, and that's where my gripe is with this team. It's not the fact that they're not finishing these trades for Damian Lillard, that they're not finishing these trades for James Harden. My gripe with the front office isn't that. My gripe with the front office is, if you had enough pieces to close these deals, because we can sit here and we can talk about them should have got Dame and should have done this. If they would have got whoever, you name the star, whoever the Heat would have got, this whole team would have been just those three guys, Jimmy, Bam, and that third person, and a bunch of undrafted guys. You're praying one of them hits. And that shit doesn't win you a championship no more. That shit does not win you a championship no more. So to me, it is crazy how people want the shiny object, man. They want the shiny object. Everybody wants the Giannis. Everybody wants the Dame. Everybody wants the Harden. That's cool, man. That's great. It hurts me to say, but the Celtics won this championship not because they went after them shiny objects. They won because they went after Kristaps. That object has potential. I know it's good. Can we get it? Can we get it to where we want it to be? Because, ironically, the Heat traded an expiring and a first-round pick and got back Terry Rozier. You know what the Celtics did with an expiring and a first-round pick? They got Derek White for Josh Richardson. It's identifying these marginal I want to say marginal talents, but these players that help you win within the margins, that help you fit your culture. And the Heat did that specifically only with Jay Crowder, Jay and Iggy, to be very honest. Like they did it with those guys. They spotted those guys, give them credit. And then they did it with PJ in free agency. Other than that, it's been a lot of development from within and over-reliance on trusting their team to develop these undrafted guys. Do you know how good we are at drafting guys? Shouldn't be news.
I think we're pretty solid, but then you have Eric Spoelstra, which we're going to get into it right now. This Miami Heat team has been small since the bubble. We've been getting out-rebounded since the bubble. We lack athleticism. Bam Adebayo has now come out and said that he doesn't want to play the 5. He was never saying that before. Udonis has him saying he doesn't want to play the 5 anymore. And you're telling me that we draft a 7-footer who I think is pretty competent. He had years in college. Of course, does he have to work on the defense and fouling and, trying to put on more weight and size? Of course. But why is Eric Spoelstra not playing a 7-foot monster that we potentially have on the bench? You see what Zach Edey's doing. Zach Edey last night had 25 points. And everybody said his game would not translate. Miami Heat fans trashed Zach Edey. You would have made it seem like he was the next, Kendrick Perkins or just absolutely terrible. And he's giving good quality minutes. And now Jaren Jackson Jr. is able to go to the 4. So why are we not playing Khalil Ware? And especially in this game that we lost the other night. So Bonus was able to get a nice rebound. People were saying that he pushed Bam or whatever. Who cares? He was able to get a clear rebound over Bam and throw it back up. Why is Khalil Ware not getting minutes with this roster when Kevin Love is out? Jovic, who's 6'10", can't get a rebound to save his life, and I think he has to go, to be honest with you. And then Thomas Bryant. Thomas Bryant's really not giving us what we thought he would ever give us. So why is Khalil Ware not playing, and why is Eric Spoelstra so stubborn? He's out here playing Drew Smith and Josh Richardson when you paid Haywood Highsmith $10 million. But Alex Burke, he hasn't missed a shot yet. So what is going on with Eric Spoelstra?
So as to the whole Spo is stubborn thing, I think Spo is very stubborn with his rotations. I also think he's trying to make that shit work. They gave him they threw a lot of shit at the wall, and they're trying to make that shit work. It's only game 6. Was I pissed with his rotations last game? Yes. They lost last game entirely because Josh Richardson played 21 minutes. And I will not be proven otherwise. I will not be proven otherwise. With this narrative that Spo doesn't play rookies, I disagree. Personally, I disagree. I think that is the most overblown narrative on Heat Twitter, is that he doesn't play his rookies. Khalil's not ready. And that's fine. That's fine. That's a discussion for another day. Khalil's not ready to give you NBA minutes. Not on a team that's trying to win. If you told me that we're trading Jimmy and we are fully embracing some kind of retooling, throw Khalil's ass in there for 20 minutes a game. I don't care. But that's not what they're telling you. They're telling you that they're trying to win now. And as much as I hate to say it, I think Thomas Bryant gives him a better chance to do that today. November, what is this, 5th? And I don't like saying that, but I love the draft. I'm the draft. Like I'm literally, my obsession is scouting players. Khalil's not ready, guys. And he is a 7-footer. He doesn't rebound particularly well with physicality. He's more, he's developing into his body, and that's fine. It's okay. But don't jump the gun on him, because to be honest, I don't think he should have been the pick whatsoever, especially because of the situations we're looking at right now. Like, they needed somebody.
Who did you want?
Who did I want in terms of like a big, or just in general?
No, just like, listen, like if you're the GM, listen, and we need someone to fit the roster right now, who would you would have picked?
At 15, Tristan Da Silva. I would have sprinted to the podium for Tristan Da Silva.
He's nice. And he's ready.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't think they should have gotten a center. I think if they should have gotten a center, it should have been the kid who went over there to New Orleans. It should have been Misi, in my opinion. Yeah. But I digress. This isn't like I'm not here to like completely shit on Khalil. I've done that enough. I just don't think he was ready for this team. I think they're drafting him because of the potential of what he can be, and that's perfectly fine. That is okay. But don't sit here and tell me you're trying to win now with Jimmy Butler and draft at 15th overall some guy who's not giving you NBA minutes right now. Like, he's not going to do it. And it's okay if he doesn't, but I'm saying, like, those two things don't add up. If you were to tell me they were to draft they could have taken just about anybody else. 16 was Jared McCain. 17 was Dalton Connect. 18 was Tristan Da Silva. All three of those guys, they could have taken over Khalil Ware, and I would have told you, you know what? They're trying to win with Jimmy, because they needed some form of point guard / shooting guard and more shooting. God knows we needed that. Dalton is a big wing. We took one in the second round in Pell Larson, and Tristan Da Silva is also a big wing. Like
3 and D, can rebound. He could do a little bit of everything.
Exactly. So it's just, don't tell me you're trying to win now and draft somebody like Khalil, who you like. If you saw him play, he's too skinny. He really, really needs to add weight and core strength. In the summer league, I saw him in person. I also saw his worst game in the summer league come against the only NBA rotation center, I guess, if you want to call Nehemias K to that. Again, he's with the Celtics. Like, that's how, and he looked horrible in that game with his physicality. So it's little tears, and it's not to say he doesn't deserve minutes. I do think, to your point, if Thomas Bryant is getting minutes, I think the leash should be short, and Khalil should get some run at least while Love is not there. When Love is back, I don't think Khalil's playing whatsoever. So I like so to add on to the Spo stubborn thing, like, we saw what Pell Larson did last game. Like, and if you were following me on Twitter, y'all would have been known this. Y'all would have been known this. Larson is that dude. And he's the most, it's crazy because I'm pretty sure we'll touch on the starting lineup at some point, but Terry, what do you think about Terry in the lineup? Because I have my opinions.
I mean, it's just not working in terms of, you have Tyler, Jimmy, Bam, and then The thing about Jimmy is that when the ball's not in his hands, he just sits back.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look and it's the fourth quarter and he has 5 points and it's like we're down by 10. And Tyler and Terry, they're jacking up shots. Bam, he's not really, that much engaged either. So it's like you got to be able to spread it out a little bit more. I think that if you're gonna have a starting lineup, maybe you do Tyler, Haywood, Highsmith. Remember, we paid him $10 million, and he's not playing, and he's one of our best perimeter defenders.
Yep.
He's one of our best point of attack defenders. So I don't understand how he's not playing. So maybe you could roll out Tyler, Terry. I mean, no, I'm sorry. Tyler, then Haywood, then Jimmy. My thing is though, is what is Jovic doing? My humble opinion, I think they're playing him out of position. He's another one. He said he doesn't like playing the 4 or 5. When you look at all of his tapes, the ball's in his hands and he's going up and down the court, and he's the point guard. So, that's where my big question is, like with this lineup. You have guys that are out of position, guys that don't want to play the positions that they're even in.
Yeah, the biggest, I think you hit it on the head. I think the biggest critique just with the starting lineup is all 5 guys need the ball in their hands. That can't happen. That just plain simple cannot happen. The Heat's best lineups are when one of the stars is on the floor. When it's just Jimmy by himself, or when it's Bam with the bench guys. When the bench guys come in, the Heat look great. You know why that is? Because they're low usage guys. So, and you force Jimmy into this role. I fully agree with you. I don't think Terry should be in the starting lineup. I think any Heat fan who's watched the games this year and thinks he's been good, I'm sorry to tell you, you're wrong. I don't know how else to put this. Like, it's incredible people think this because raw stats are a thing. He's been atrocious. Point of attack defense has been bad. His inefficiencies are bad. The only time he's looked good is when the ball's not in his hands and he's catching and shooting. And I actually looked that up before we even went on. I was just curious. He's 98th percentile in spot ups. That's the only time he's looked good offensively. So to your point, I fully respect the Highsmith getting a look there. I think he should. I think Pell should get a look over Highsmith with the starters. It's just my opinion. Maybe I'm biased. It is what it is. For Nico, I think the Nico thing it's important because Nico is a connector. Nico, as much as, a point guard is a little bit hefty because I don't think I trust him doing that all the time, but I do trust him doing that more often than he's been tasked to do it now. And my issue with him with these starters is which one of these starters moves well without the ball? I'll wait. Because Bam doesn't move well without the ball. Jimmy, as well as Jimmy moves as well as he's allowed to, considering that nobody guards him at the 3-point line. So they're watching the cuts anyways. Tyler doesn't cut. Tyler just roams. And Terry doesn't move anyways. So, it's Nico is very good at spraying out, but he's also he's at his best passing into the paint. And none of these guys cut or move without the ball. So that's why, in my opinion, Nico needs to get some run. I think he should still remain the starter because last year's sample size of Jimmy, Bam, and Nico as a 3-man unit was the best on the team. They had the best net rating. It was plus 13. Their defense was insane. Their offense was good enough. So I think that works. The whole thing with me is that works when your backcourt, when Lowry used to be in the backcourt. So he wasn't really too much of a high usage guy. And, he wasn't even great, but you need low usage, high impact guys alongside your stars. And that's why I think Highsmith is a good one. I think Pell is a good one to improve and bring out the best in this starting lineup due to Jimmy forcing to have the ball more, due to, Highsmith is one of their better cutters. Larson is probably, aside from Duncan, their best cutter. That's all he did at Arizona is move without the basketball. So it's just these kind of guys who have the intangibles. They're missing that intangibles guy. They have 5 guys who can try and get you a bucket, but it's all dribble, dribble, dribble. None of it is, I see this, I'm moving this way. We're setting a hammer here. We're setting a pin down there. We're coming off of 2, double drags. They're not doing any of that. It's very simple, 5 out, a screen and a roll, or a screen and a pop, and nobody's respecting some of the shooters. So when Bam rolls to the paint, 2 people are flying to Bam from the weak side. The point guard can't make that pass. It's a lot of ball stagnant, player stagnant offense. And I think Nico is being hindered by that because That's not what he was used to overseas. That's not what made him intriguing as a draft prospect, and that's not why he was very good last year. You know, whether it was Duncan, whether it was Jaime, he was playing with guys who are good without the basketball, thus allowing him to play make a little bit more and to have certain responsibilities. Right now, you know why he doesn't look good? Because he's being extremely relegated to spot up shooting. The shot
Yep.
isn't falling, so he looks bad. It's simple math. If he was hitting these shots, everybody would be like, hey man, Nico's not the problem. But the shots aren't falling. And that's my thing. He can't just be a spot up shooter. He needs to be able, I think he can provide more to an offense, but the pieces around him are not allowing him to do so. So either he goes to the bench or somebody else goes to the bench.
Yeah, man. There's just so many different issues. There's not even just maybe like one or two things that's wrong. It's just an abundance of issues. But I really do think, there is a decent team in there, and I think that the Eastern
Mm-hmm.
Conference has kind of set them up perfectly. Like with Paulo, he's going to be out, and it's going to hurt the Orlando Magic. I don't believe in the Philadelphia 76ers. The Milwaukee Bucks, they look horrendous. So there's a lot of things that could possibly break the Miami Heat's way, which has definitely happened in the past. But we shall see. So before we close, let the people know where can they find you on social media and where can they find you on YouTube.
So it's going to be just at SaucyTakez, like you see it on the screen. No spaces with the Z at the end. Mostly just on Twitter. I have a YouTube channel I haven't posted in 2 years, so don't follow me on there unless you want to. But just on Twitter, if you're, I typically respond to people if they have questions or just engage with people on Twitter. I think it's pretty fun for the most part.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Make sure that you guys like, share, comment, subscribe as we continue to push to 5,000 subscribers.